son?
Well, my thing is just stacking sugar on sugar on sugar. Exactly, which is why I would not try that shit.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The enemy has arrived. Not taking much damage.
I dashed and died? What?
Holy shit.
How does that work?
The multiverse really needs its shoe balance.
Holy shit.
Okay. I dashed and died? Are you dead ass?
We're gonna throw then?
Who's throwing? What are you talking about?
If we are gonna throw, I'm gonna be a.
Who's throwing? What are you talking about?
For the whole
Throwing, like, shut up.
Bro, no one's throwing. Play the game.
I'm gonna throw the game if you play.
Oh my god, I fucking hate this game so much. Like this guy, bro, what is he talking about? Dog, this game drives me insane, bro. What is he talking about?
Enter my double.
No one is throwing, bro. Can this guy get out my damn ears? Yo, this guy.
Patty cake me. Patty cake.
Like, play the game, please. The game just started and he's yelling or fucking screaming in our ears. Stop throwing, stop throwing. What the fuck is he saying? Nah, I can't play with someone that's like this, bro. Holy shit. How are you whining and the game just started?
I don't know if he's behind us. Throw behind me. Gonna get a patty cake.
Double KO.
He's gonna do it again.
Not even one fight in, he's crying, bro. Like, I was about to mute him. I don't like muting people, but goddamn, cannot be doing that in this game, bro. Oh my god, this Thor came out of nowhere, bro.
God damn.
Every time I walk, I'm like teleport.
Sayonara.
You have a thing? Okay.
All eyes on these coordinates.
You stop them in their tracks.
Got eyes on an enemy.
Help me.
Double KO.
What a difference.
Only 60 seconds left.
I did that once and it was valid. Like, goddamn, bro, the match just started and he would not shut up.
Behold the god of
Patty cake, patty
Why
cake.
is this guy so obsessed with me? What is this?
Down to 30 seconds.
Bro moment.
Step aside. There's still a chance to stop them.
Their attacks barely hurt.
Hey, Chad! Someone play this!
In portal?
You'll have to keep fighting until
Oh, go, you got all, man. Go, bro.
Enemy has arrived.
You got all, man. Let's go. You got it. Oh, bro. Oh, bro. You got all, man.
I'm so close to meeting this guy. Oh my
Bro,
god.
you needed to.
they hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
Yeah, go. Yeah, it's for you to go DPS, bro.
Jeez, bro.
Bro, we. We had that, but
This mutant is not gonna shut up. Bro,
man,
he heard you the first time, bro. Please.
Let's go. Yay.
Good thing I was here.
Why's my team? Oh my god, he keeps switching characters, so I lost my team up. He switched from Cloak to Jeff. Oh, he's throwing.
We had that. You know that?
Reborn once
Oh my god, bro. Get this guy off my team, dog. Oh. Wait, why are you throwing? What happened?
Found one of
There's
their
nothing
soldiers.
more sacred than a temple.
We only have one healer, bro.
Bro, just... Oh my god.
I'm a sitting duck.
We have one healer.
There's still a chance to stop them.
I needed that.
So since someone else is throwing, you're gonna throw as well? Like, what the
You're
fuck
already
did...
throwing, bro.
How?
By not flexing, bro.
Farewell.
I didn't say I wasn't gonna flex. I need to use my ult first.
They hit a checkpoint.
Are you gonna go healer then?
Sure.
Stop them.
Can you play the
Hey,
game?
go healer. Yeah,
I have to ult first. Have you not...
Yo,
There's
look at
always
all
a
the
spark of light in darkness.
Is this brain working, bro? What? Oh my god.
Better stop that vehicle.
Is he just ignoring what I'm saying? How is this celestial? I'm dead. Shouldn't have ulted. Holy, okay, we don't even need another healer. We have one, but what the fuck is this guy like? Okay.
It's
They're
now
down,
or
dude. You
never.
can still walk.
Stop them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
This is a perma void. If you could perma void someone, I'd perma void this guy. That Thor just ult off the map just to not die.
Hey, Punisher, you had that, bro.
I have what? What are you saying? What is this guy? I can't, bro. I can't, bro. This guy's just
Only 60 seconds.
like I don't know, bro. I don't even know how this guy's in this rank. I don't know if he bought his account or I don't know. I don't think this guy's a real person, bro. He's gonna be like an AI or something.
Can you get the ult, please?
The current score is 0-3. Time to switch things
Report
up,
him.
including which side you're
Bro
on.
would not get out my ear, bro. I don't want to mute him, but I have to. I'm muting
You guys
him.
think I have time to restart my game? Cause that's so laggy, bro.
Oh man. This fun police got my reporter, please, bro. Like, this guy's a troll, bro. Oh my god. Let's all report him in FF. Not worth it. This guy is not real, bro. He can't be real, bro. He's 2 and 3, bro. What is he doing, dog? Like, oh my lordy, bro.
30 seconds before you
I still got a report for throwing anyway. Who was the other person? I don't even know who the other person was that was throwing, because this guy was just sitting in the spawn room. At least the other guy wasn't sitting in the spawn room, whoever was apparently throwing, allegedly.
Long before I was named its director.
No, bro, once I don't get on right, bro. This guy does not need to be in this ring. I don't know how he's in this ring.
My buddy Jeff the Land Shark joined.
He's 2 and 3. I don't know what he even actually plays.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And this wormy guy's arguing with him.
Help get that vehicle
There's
to
solid
its
now.
destination.
We're not solid climb.
Bro, how? I'm in front of him. How is he not healing me? What? Oh, he's not using his bubble. Oh my god, this guy doesn't play cloak. He doesn't play cloak. He's not using his bubble. Bubble yourself. He's fading out and oh my fucking god. He's not even using the bubble. Yeah, he's trolling. He's not even using cloak bubble. He's literally just trolling. The easiest report ever, bro. I have not seen him use cloak bubble once. No, he doesn't even throw it down. Not at all. He doesn't know how to play that character. What rank is this? It's Celestial. Apparently.
Your bubbles is second cooldown. You don't have to save it that much.
Allegedly Celestial. How is this Celestial? What? How is this guy in this rank? I don't get it.
Judge, jury, executioner!
Oh my god, bro.
This is
All right, bro. Get me out. 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 Get me out.
Guess who just showed their stupid faces?
What's to my position?
Can I? My fucking god, bro. I don't think I've gotten healed once this game. What's how long have I been shooting? 9 hours? Maybe it's time to fucking get off, bro. What? I think I'm fucking done for today. Holy shit. This is Bro, don't let anyone ever tell you can't hit Celestial, bro. don't let anyone ever tell you can't hit Celestial, bro. This is the worst game I played all day. Like there's no way this guy actually is this rank. There's no way this guy is supposed to be in this rank. There's just no way.
Double KO. Classic castle entrance. Almost there. Don't turn back now.
This match is so winnable too. That's the worst part.
Need your hand sometimes. Down to 30 seconds.
Who the fuck is touching? Oh, great. Should be going with it. Nah, that's the worst Celestial match I've ever. I don't know how this is Celestial lobby. I have a Black Widow and I have a guy named Fun Police. That's I think I played against him before too, but I could be wrong.
I see you have need. Out of sight. Castle went down fighting.
Final score 0-2-3.
Oh my god, easiest reports in the world, bro.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Avoid him too, like holy shit. Report him, avoid like fucking everything, dog. This bloke guy needs to get reported too. I don't know how this is a real lobby, bro, but like never again. Like I can't get real players, bro. I don't care if he has 20k healing, bro. I can't get a real fucking team. Okay, how much healing he has. I mean, yeah, he has that much healing. He's the only healer. What the hell is this match, bro? Son. Should I keep streaming or like, I don't even know, bro. What? Son, what is that match, bro? What? Check my history. Mine or his? My history's not bad. I don't know if I want to play again. What the fuck? Oh, when I went direct to GM, it was bad, but like I got my Celestial back. I think I'm on demo again. No, yeah, I am. What the fuck? I don't know if I want to play another. Those guys. What is that blade percent? Hey yo. What? Oh, his. My God, level 34. How is he in this rank? Did he buy this account? What? Oh my God, this is a bot account, bro. No, bro. What is this account? Yo, what is this account, bro? This ain't his. Oh my God. This is not his account, bro. What is this? Oh, if it is, he's not the only one playing on this account or something. Cause what in the fuck is this? It didn't even have a single lord. This is like a bot account of doom, bro. What? This guy is not supposed to be in this rank, bro. What is this? You see this guy? This guy's who was in. Dude, how is this guy in this lobby? What? Bro's older brother is on the account or something. Like younger brother or some shit. I don't know. That's not his account. That's 100% not his account, bro. Or if it is just an alt where he just goes on and just trolls and plays random ass characters. That guy is not supposed to be in this ring, bro. Yo, I'm about to get off. I'm fucking out of here, dog. I think I'm done. No, that match was Looney Tunes. What the fuck was that? That's 9 hours, dog. I'm out of here, bro. That was so silly. That was so